Hello everyone, we are the interns from Dorsey Wright & Associates, and today we're going to be talking about budgeting and personal finance. And I'm Ben, I go to Virginia Tech, and this is Charlie.
Go to the University of Virginia.
Joe, I go to Virginia Commonwealth University.
And in our last video we talked about, some important parts of personal finances and how you can go on the pathway to, personal finance success. And today we're going to kind of, start talking about budgeting. And because budgeting is probably one of the most important parts of, engaging in personal finance and knowing, how much money you have, what you can buy, where you can, invest. And a budget allows you to, also know where all your money goes. What are you buying? Are you spending on food, gas, beer, stuff like that.
It's gonna be difficult to invest in the future until you have your own personal budget in the place it needs to be and position yourself to where you're able to invest and you have some excess cash to put aside. So I think we were just gonna go over a few things that since we're both college students and places that we can maybe save money and where we find that budgeting helps us. Joe, Ben, anybody got any examples?
I mean, budgeting is really the important first step, and I think it's really important to figure out what your goals are and to understand that there's not really any wrong way for you to spend your money, but if you have more of a long-term perspective like what we're talking about, then you have to sort of set one side, what's the short-term thing that I'm doing? Like, do I really need to go out and grab that Whopper from Burger King this week? Or do I want to pack that money away because, let's say I skip a trip over to Burger King once a week, every week of the year, then I'm going to save up $250 by the end of the year. And what are you going to do with that $250?
Yeah.
That's true. Like I remember, I think it was my freshman year in college. One of my fraternity brothers, one of my tasks, I had to go around to each grocery store and convenience store that sold beer, and I had to keep track of each price. And by the end of the semester, I handed him a spreadsheet of where was the cheapest place to buy each type of beer. And it's funny. We use that analogy with beer a lot because they were in college, but it puts in perspective of being a smart shopper, knowing where's the best place to go to really have the best deal.
Yeah, and I got a story that kind of coincides exactly with that. Is going out and sending out some of the new members out to find out where all the drink specials are. Finding drink specials, I'm all for going out Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights.
Yeah.
But the best thing to do is to know where the drink specials are. Where would you rather go? Would you rather go to the bar that has the $4 bourbon and ginger, or the bar that has the $1 real special that night? That's $3 right there. Times that by 4 drinks. I mean, you're saving a lot of money in one night.
Oh, I don't know. If you know where the happy hour specials are,
yeah.
Where you can buy the best deals for food, gasoline, driving around town, be aware, observe.
Yeah.
And that's the best way you can just be, a financial savvy person.
Yeah.
And especially when you're in college or, just starting getting a job, if you can just be aware of your surroundings, of knowing where the best deals are, knowing how to utilize, these websites that we're going to talk about.
It helps you get the most out of the budget that you have. Even though you're, constrained a little bit, possibly, in how much income level you have, you maximize the amount of utility you can get out of that by
definitely
exactly
pricing things the right way.
Econ 201, maximizing your utility.
That's true.
Still having a great time, but still having a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so the purpose of this video is that we want to give you and provide you with a strategy. Not really necessarily a method to just go exactly by, but, just a strategy, something to think about, so, when you are done watching this video, you can get on the internet, go to Google or Wikipedia and check some of this stuff out. Yahoo Finance has, a great section for personal finance. So right now we're going to talk about budgeting. And I think budgeting is one of the, key aspects of, engaging in the financial world and, becoming, more aware of, how much money you have. And so the first principle that we want to talk about is knowing your income.
Yeah.
Knowing how much money you have each month.
Yeah, if you're allotted a certain amount of money that your parents have given you on food and so forth, or how much you have to spend that summer or to spend that next semester or to spend that year while you're working or things of that nature, then you can break that down and be like, okay, this is how much I have to spend on this, this, and this each month, or however much money you have to work with is key in terms of knowing how much you can spend in each different place. So you got to start out with knowing how much you're going to have and spend where you need to spend it.
That's very true. And also the second principle is how are you going to spend your money?
Exactly.
Are you going to be having a car payment, credit card payment? Are you going to be buying, food, gas, beer, fraternity dues, something like that. And, by knowing where it all goes, you're able to break it down. Pizza, clubs, clothes. So it's important, also to not, when you keep a budget, not to assume that, an expense is too small.
Right.
If you're spending, $5, on a burger, and you're not putting that in your budget, you're not going to count for that.
Yeah. And one of the best ways to do that, and I don't know if y'all use this same method or not, is going back online, is just looking at your transaction history. Looking at, all right, last week I spent a lot of money at so-and-so bar, or maybe I can cut down on some of those expenses. But knowing where you're spending your money and how you've spent it in the past is also another good starting point to when you're starting to set down and set a personal budget of how things should go.
Yeah, you got a good point there. And a couple of you read different things online where, if you fall into that trap where, for example, you're going out and spending things, you don't necessarily have a good idea of what you're doing with your credit card because it's really easy.
Right.
It's really easy to pull that policy out and just be
Swipe
like, $38, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Swipe.
There you go.
So one of the ways they talk about getting around that is, well, maybe for 1 week, you're going to pull out and say, how much do I need this week? I need $100, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to get that in cash, and I'm not going to use my credit card at all. And you see how much you have left by the end of the week,
Exactly.
just to figure out if you're spending more than you think you are.
Yeah.
Or the other thing would be to keep a notepad with you. And every time you put any money on your credit card, you write down what you bought and how much it cost. And keep a ledger of it, just so for that 1 week, 2 week period of time, you know exactly what you're buying.
Yeah, and it's important to be honest with yourself. I mean, there's some times where, I go, for a week, I just keep swiping, and I'm like, oh, I got plenty of money, I'm not going to worry about it. Or then you start spending, and you kind of like, oh, I don't want to check my bank statement. I'm kind of worried.
Yeah.
And so you just put it off until you're finally like, oh my gosh.
I need to check this thing before.
So it's being honest with yourself is very important as well, I think.
Eating up with those $35 fees, right?
Oh yeah.
So if we were to outline 3 key things here in terms of how to budget, I think we can start out with knowing your income. I think that's the foundation of it, knowing how much you have to spend. Maybe a second thing could be knowing how you spend money, going back and looking at your history. Maybe a third, understanding how you're spending their money.
Right.
You guys have anything else there?
Yeah, I mean, Joe, you talked about earlier before this video about opportunity cost. And, knowing how you spend your money, what you can, cut out maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole idea of budgeting and where it comes back into our original thing, which is sort of, taking this time to sort of get a grasp of money, preparing for the future, is if you don't have a grasp on the present and what you're doing right now, it's not really realistic to think that you can start planning ahead for your future.
Right.
So the opportunity cost is really this, I can go to the bar with you guys this weekend and we can, throw around and have a great time and whatever. And that's, one decision, and that's fine. At the same time, maybe I want to buy a car at the end of the year or the next 2 years or something like that. So the opportunity cost comes in, the more money that I spend now, the less money that I have put away for later for that broader term goal.
Right.
So it's really budgeting from a longer term perspective is understanding how my decisions now impact my longer term goals and what I want to do in the future.
Okay. I think before we move on here, we're going to switch to tape 2, so we'll be back in just a second.